Alrighty boys, we're gonna take off in the new rig here. Yes. He just smashed it. It's a light colored one. That's a river fish. There we go. Oh, come on, chill out. My GoPro died, which sucks. I get that thing charging. I didn't realize it was dead. But that's okay. I got a little bit of the footage on the GoPro. Told her to grab out the big camera. It is very windy and rainy today. We're kind of just out here trying a new boat out that I'm about to be purchasing. And we're on some walleyes already. Haven't been out here for too long. Been messing with electronics a little bit, testing out things. But we're gonna get this fish back real quick and probably be out here for a couple hours just trying out the boat. Bring you guys a video on some different ways to catch these spring walleyes, a couple different baits, a couple different techniques. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Oh yeah, number one, this windy foggy day. Alright guys, well, I'm hiding out under the canopy because it is raining. Obviously it's very windy, 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts. I'm crazy to even be out here. Like I said, I'm out here just testing a new boat, doing a little fun fishing. I want to bring this video to you guys talking about the top 3 spring baits I would be throwing right now when the water's a little colder and these fish aren't as active yet. But most of these baits will kind of transition into the spring. I'll still be using these baits, but I will start working them more aggressively and I will start adding in more aggressive baits. But I'm not going to talk any longer. Let's get right into it. Start looking at these baits, start showing you guys how to work these baits, and then you guys could come out here on the Fox River or wherever you go in the spring when the water is colder and get on some walleyes. So here's a look at them. I got some of these custom blade baits here. These are, I would say right now, blade bait has been my favorite go-to bait. And most of you guys are like, holy crap, that's crazy. If you know me, I'm a Mississippi River guy. I love hutch tackle. I love sauger slayers. Anyways, so here's some hutch tackle tails here. So in the spring, I'd say my number 1 bait is these blade baits. Let's talk about these. This one right here, I have a package right here. I'll get it out somewhere. Right here. Got some baits right there. This is a Viper custom tackle blade bait. I picked these up from the Reel Shot, and I'll tell you what, man, I've been throwing all these blade baits, and that one has produced the most fish, specifically this purple and green here. Now we'll talk about these other blade baits. These are from my tackle company, Ghost Tackle. I'm pro staff through them. He sent me these. These have been working amazing. The one I got on my rod right now, yeah, that one has been working very well. And I would say you got another TRS Reel Shot blade bait here. That's what these other ones are. Them have been working, catching a few fish here and there. This one's beat up. This one's caught some fish. Haven't used the green one as much. Now I'd say my second favorite bait, let's talk about a plastic. I would say it really doesn't matter what jig you use. I would say it's more about the size of the jig. You want the lightest jig possible you can get away with, so that way your bait is staying in the strike zone for a long enough time for these fish to hit it. So what I mean by that is using like a 1/4 ounce or a 3/8 is probably better than using a half or bigger. I've been using mostly a 1/4, even sometimes here with the currents being really slow, I've been knocking down to an 1/8 and just dragging my jig across the bottom. So I got some hutch tackle jigs here. These have been working amazing. These and the gold ones, I like these. These moon eye jigs, they always work. They like that eye, it's an extra attraction. Some plastics, I'll use these tickle tails. We got some regular ringworm tails here, been working good. This one with that has been working really good for me. This green here has been producing fish. Green has been producing a lot of fish for me here in the spring on plastics. And now I would say my third bait I will be throwing is some of these Rippin' Raps. During the daytime, these have not been as effective as they been at night for me recently. Just being the water being a little colder, I've been throwing more blade baits during the day. But them Rippin' Raps are, I would say, my third favorite bait to throw in the spring. If I could throw them and catch fish on them, I'm throwing them. I got some customs here, and I'll tell you what, when they're working, they're working. But I don't want to talk any longer about the baits. Now you guys know what I'm using, my top 3 baits. First bait I'm going to show you guys how to work is this blade bait. I do a little short little pitch out here. So that would be like a full cast. Say I was doing a full cast. You want to hit the bottom. And when you hit the bottom, you kind of just want to do a little rip up and a reel down. Rip up and a reel down. And as the spring goes on, you could start working this thing a lot more aggressive, guys, like more of a pop and a reel down, like I would hit a Rippin' Rap. But I'm not hitting this thing as hard. I'm kind of just lifting up on it a little bit just to feel it. And as soon as you feel that thing vibrate a little bit, you want to be reeling down and let that thing hit the bottom again. These fish want the bait in the strike zone, and what I mean by that is right now their strike zone is very small, very close to the bottom with this water temp being cold, so they don't want this thing ripping as hard. They want it real close to the bottom, a small little pop and a reel down. Small little pop and a reel down. And that is my favorite bait so far this spring, and usually every spring with the water temps being colder. Just being able to work the bait a lot more in the jig and the plastic and be able to rip it like that and feel them smash it is really what gets me going. And that's why blade bait is my favorite one bait to throw in the spring. All right, here's my second favorite bait to throw in the spring. A jig and a plastic. I got that Hutch tackle jig on here. Right now I'm using a 3/8 and I got a Keitech on here. So how I'm gonna work this thing is I'm gonna cast it out, let it hit the bottom. And once it hits the bottom, I'm just kind of giving this thing just a little drag, and then I'm holding it there. A little drag, and I'm holding it there. Right now, I'm barely working this thing, just kind of pulling this jig and paddle tail across the bottom. And that's mostly how these fish want it right now, is they want it just barely being pulled across the bottom. Very minimum. With a jig and a plastic, you can even do a little more snap, like a blade bait, and then kind of pause it. And some days that's been working, but most of the time with this plastic, with this water temp being still really cold, they want this thing just to drag and set down, let it hit bottom. Drag, let it set down. Just like that. And that is how I work on the jig and the plastic, and that is my second favorite bait to throw in the spring. And this is my third favorite bait to throw right now in this cold water. And I'm not gonna lie, coming up in a couple weeks here, once we get into the beginning of April, mid-April, like once these fish start spawning and the spawn starts, I do like the Rippin' Rap probably more than anything. If I can get away with throwing it on the bay or here in the Fox, I'm more than likely throwing a Rippin' Rap. But otherwise, blade baits work great right now, and that's why I like throwing them number one. Show you how to work this thing real quick, and then we are gonna wrap up this video. Fish that thing out there, wait till it hits the bottom. All right, and now this thing has hit the bottom, so you kind of want to do more of a rip with this. You're gonna have to hit a Rippin' Rap a lot harder than you're gonna hit a blade bait. The blade bait, it's nice because you don't have to rip it as hard to get it to do the. With this, you really got to rip this bait a lot harder than a blade bait to get it to actually move how it's supposed to. So when you're working these Rippin' Raps, you want to give it more of a snap and kind of a reel down. A snap and kind of a reel down. And once these fish start getting charged up as the spring goes on, they will really start crushing these Rippin' Raps. And about the same thing when you're ripping this blade, when you're ripping a blade bait, you should be feeling it just like when you're ripping these Rippin' Raps, feeling that bait vibrate as soon as you pull. Let it hit the bottom, rip, let it hit the bottom. Reel this thing in. And keep in mind, if you're going to throw these Rippin' Raps right now early in the spring, and they can be effective, you want to be working it very lightly. Same thing, just barely pulling on it to where you feel it rip and feel that thing vibrate. If you don't feel it vibrating, obviously it isn't working right. But that is my third favorite bait to throw right now. We're gonna add in a couple fish catches to this video, I'm sure. And now you guys know how to work these baits, so you guys can get out and catch some of these spring walleyes when the water isn't as warm and they are not as aggressive. So get off your butt, get out in the boat, get offshore, start casting, because spring is here, boys. Big run, boys. We got a big bomb on. He's way down there, and I made a bomb for that. This is what you love to see. Back in the boat, man. Open water back. Looking up a big spring walleye. Like a 26, 27 inch. What a gorgeous fish. Beautiful walleye. This is what we are out here for. Nice green bay walleye. Thanks for tuning into the video, guys. I appreciate all the support. We're on the road to 1,000 subs. We're almost there. So if you are not, go hit that subscribe button right now. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in. I showed you guys my top favorite 3 spring baits to be throwing right now, and especially in the Fox, what you should be throwing. Otherwise, yeah, we're gonna get out of here, go get some food. It was a good day. Tried out the new boat, got the video done. So hopefully you guys can get out on the Fox River or get out to your spring spots, try some of these techniques, try some of these baits, and get you on some fish. Until next time, I'm out. Stay tuned to the channel for more walleye videos and more how-to videos.